Kuzangpo and welcome to this week's edition of Bhutan This Week with me, Sonam Wongdi. This week's top stories. Druk Phinsum Thokpa says the exemption of customs duty and sales tax on books imported this year is in violation of the constitution. Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay inaugurated the Royal Bhutan helicopter services. And despite increased vehicle taxes and introduction of fuel tax, people continue to import vehicles. Druk Phinsum Thokpa says the exemption of customs duty and sales tax on books imported this year is in violation of the constitution. In press release issued by the party, they quoted the constitution which says taxes, fees and other forms of levies shall not be imposed or altered except by law. They also cited the Public Finance Amendment Act 2012. The press release stated that the provisions cited by the Finance Ministry from the Sales Tax, Customs and Excise Act 2000 to authorize this exemption are null and void as per the Constitution and the Supreme Court's verdict on the first constitutional case between the government and the opposition party. The party said the exemption of taxes without due parliamentary process is in direct violation of the constitutional provision. The opposition party said it is deeply concerned with the repeated unlawful acts of the government. The payment was exempted last month to encourage all Bhutanese to read, especially in the context of the National Reading Year 2015. The Australian government will be cutting down the number of scholarships beginning the 2016 intake. The Australian ambassador to Bhutan said that the cut is not only prescribed to Bhutan but is being done globally as Australia is going through a budget deficit. But this does not mean the end to Australia's assistance to Bhutan's education sector. However, the number of scholarships given to each country by Australia is likely to pick up once Australia is able to deal with its fiscal problems.
Working with RIM, and we've been giving support, and in fact I announced more support a couple of nights ago for us to support more PhD scholarships so that RIM will have a faculty of PhD graduates who can then teach the Australian level courses so that the students can get Australian accredited qualifications in Bhutan, which in one way is fantastic because that means more Bhutanese students can study and get Australian level qualifications in Bhutan without incurring the huge expense of going to Australia and also leaving their families for a considerable period of time. The government has done a review of our aid program globally, and our aid program has been cut quite significantly globally. So that's because we have a fiscal problem in Australia. We have a budget deficit, which is a structural budget deficit. So the government's seeing where it can cut spending in all areas of government, including the aid portfolio.
Most of the shops in the country do not follow the maximum retail price or MRP rule. Some sell above the MRP while some sell below it. For instance, people in Monga town shared their grievances against the shopkeepers for charging more than the MRP. MRP is a pre-printed price on the commodities.
It is not only about charging above the MRP, but charging unreasonably high prices for goods.
I am not saying that all shopkeepers are not complying with the MRP rule, but there are a few who have some serious problems. They have their own price tag. It is okay to charge about 10 to 15 Newton more than the MRP because they have to survive on profits. But some of the commodities are sold at 30 to 50 Newton when the MRP is just 5 Newton. So for consumers like us, it's unfair.
For example, last time I went to one of the shops and looked at an item. The actual MRP was just 5 Niltrum, but the shopkeeper was selling at 30 Niltrum.
However, shopkeepers have their own story to tell.
At times, we have to pay on the MRP rate, so we have no option but to charge above MRP. Otherwise, there is no profit. Even places like Thimphu sell on MRP when the distance is just about 4 hours from the suppliers, whereas we have to travel 3 days to Mongal. I think people should understand. Sometimes we get 5% discount on MRP, but we have to pay 5% tax. So there is no profit.
In our shops, we sell all our items on MRP. When we have good margin between the MRP and the cost price, we even sell below MRP.
We visited the regional trade and industry office in Mongar, but it looked like there was nothing much they could do.
If wholesalers sells beyond the MRP, then we as a regulating authority, I think we can immediately intervene. However, coming to the retail prices, it's beyond our control and it must determined by the market force itself. And while having said so, if retailers charge unreasonably high prices, then I think those retailers will be dealt as per the Consumer Protection Act and its rules and regulation.
But to do that, consumers have to officially lodge a complaint.
We do know that we can complain to the concerned authority, but Mongar is such a small place and it's not really easy. It will hamper our personal relations and works in the future.
Yes, we can complain against it, but since we all live in a small society, it's not really wise and convenient to complain directly.
Local residents say the only option could be to stop buying from shops charging high price. But in a small town like Mongar, with less than 100 retailers, it is easier said than done. Kampal Fakingatashi, Tandon Finso, BBS News.
Except for Thetso, the rest 14 geoks under Wongdipoda will have to send a carpenter each every month for the renovation of Wongdizong. Although it was agreed in a meeting earlier this year that geoks would contribute carpenters for the renovation, not many heeded to the decision. This time, the decision has come through the Dzongkhag Tsogdu held recently.
It was decided in a meeting held in February this year between the GUPS and Project Director of Wongdizong Renovation Project that each geok will send at least 2 or 3 carpenters for the renovation. However, till date, 3 geoks have not sent any carpenters. On the other hand, those who contributed, it was only for 1 to 4 months.
At present, we have 47 workers excluding 2 supervisors from the 15 geoks of Wondi. The rest, about 330, are from nearby Dzongkhag, Sopchirang and Tagana.
Local leaders during the meeting explained that it is difficult finding carpenters in their geoks.
We don't have even a single carpenter in our geok. Even for constructing houses in the geok, we have to hire carpenters from outside.
I don't see any problem in getting people or volunteers from outside the Dzongkhag. We have not been able to send carpenters because we do not have one in the geok. Even for our own constructions, we hire carpenters from nearby geoks.
Those who know carpentry take up contract works only, so to select and send 2 workers for the Dzong renovation is very difficult.
Despite the problems expressed by the local leaders, the Dzongkhag Tsogdu decided that excluding Thetso geok, rest of the geoks will have to send 1 carpenter every month.
Everyone has agreed to send a carpenter each from the geok every month. We have also agreed to send more if need be. Even in the case of workers, we have agreed to contribute from the geoks. Although it will be seen as a service, wages will be paid accordingly.
Thetso geok has been excluded from the compulsory labor contribution as the geok has been sending 1 stone carver and 10 workers consistently for the last 5 months. Compiled for Kinzang Tilne, Dikilhamo, BBS News.
Prime Minister Tshering Tobgay inaugurated the office of the Royal Bhutan Helicopter Services at Paro Airport on Monday. The state-owned enterprise will, however, start its operation only from 11th November, coinciding with the 68th birth anniversary of His Majesty the 4th Drukgyalpo. The Royal Bhutan Helicopter Services is expected to receive its first helicopter on November 3rd and its second one in mid-next year. A chopper will cost around $3.65 million. Speaking at the ceremony, the Prime Minister said helicopter services are of great importance to a country like Bhutan, where there is no scope for seaways and where roadways are limited by the mountainous landscapes. With 2 ultrasound machines out of order, the Gyeongju Hospital is not able to provide ultrasound scanning service. The local residents there have to travel all the way to Thimphu and neighboring health centers for the service, which they say is inconvenient.
One of the machines has been out of service since February this year. Just last month, the second one was damaged. It has been over 3 weeks now with no ultrasound service at all in Gyeongju Hospital. According to our sources, it will take 2 more months to fix the machines. Some of the hospital staff said to address the problem, they will soon bring a machine from Tashigang Hospital. And now people are looking forward for this private clinic established last year to start the service in Gyeongju.
I plan to open the ultrasound machine within this year, lead mission 2015. And first I have to take approval from the Ministry of Health. After that I have to search qualified technician for ultrasound. And then if technicians are available, and then I have to report BMSC, Bhutan Medical Health Council. I have to register there. Only after that, only I can purchase the machine. Because now the space is sufficient. I have contacted Indian party also to supply the ultrasound machine.
Locals welcomed the idea.
With ultrasound machine out of order in the hospital, we have no option but to visit Thimphu and Bogaigaon. And it is not easy. If private individual could start ultrasound services, it will immensely benefit us. Last year, dialysis machine was out of order, and this year it is ultrasound machine. We would be grateful if private clinic could start these services.
Until the service is available in Gyeongju, people have to travel to Thimphu or health centers in border towns for ultrasound service. Compiled for Phuba, Tandrin Finso, BBS News.
There was disorder as both patients and attendants in Samtse District Hospital were left without power supply for almost 7 hours on Monday. The slow response to the outage has raised concerns among public about outdated infrastructures and response to emergencies. As the helpless mother tried to calm her sick baby folded between her arms, hot and humid weather coupled with power outage kept patients and attendants despaired inside the Samtse hospital ward.
It's hot, there is no moving fan, and when your child is sick with fever, that's torture. When there is no electricity, you have mosquitoes biting you. There is water problem. Since the tanks are pumped with electric motors, there isn't enough water in the storages. The toilets get blocked and the stench they emit makes it unbearable, especially when you have to attend a sick child.
We wanted to dress her wounds, but we couldn't do it. She uses the oxygen mask. Since there is no power supply here, she had a problem with breathing. When patients suffer, we suffer with them.
But it confused the people more when they learned that the hospital does have a generator but would not use it. Sonam Sitim, a father of 3 who was attending his expecting wife, dreaded the thought and responses should his wife go into labor anytime soon during such hours. He said the power failure on Monday exposed the hospital's response system to emergencies. The power was gone for almost 7 hours.
Although the government has provided the facility, the hospital makes an excuse of not having enough fuel to run the power backup. I feel the authority doesn't care to address this problem on pretext, and this is appalling, which requires the attention.
There were cases earlier, as shared by the health staff, when deliveries were done under torchlight. Sources said that the generator of the hospital has not been used for a long time now. The hospital administration said the diesel generator, which is housed in an old warehouse just outside the hospital, keeps failing frequently.
We do have 70 kV generator, but this generator cannot be used for more than an hour or two because the one we have is quite old. It has been here since this hospital was built in 1960s. The generator breaks down and stops working because it gets hot too quickly. When there is power outage for several hours, we don't use the generator because it simply stops working after more than 2 hours.
The hospital administration said they are helpless as buying a new generator is not allowed. However, this problem is expected to be solved once the new hospital, which is under construction, is over. For Sonam Phunzo in Samsi, Sonam Wongki, PBS News. Factors like increased vehicle taxes or introduction of fuel tax have not done much when it comes to controlling people from importing new cars. Today, there are over 74,600 vehicles in the country, which is one vehicle for every 10 individuals.
Increased taxes on vehicles, the introduction of fuel tax and banks lowering the amount car buyers can borrow has done little to discourage people from buying new cars. More than 8,000 cars were imported during a one-year period between July 2014 and July 2015. This means about 22 new cars hit the roads every day. According to a study carried out by the World Bank, should the present trend continue, it would take more than 1 hour to reach Babisa from the city center.
Especially morning rush hour at around 9, 10, it's really very stressful. You don't reach your office on time?
Of the 8,191 vehicles imported since July last year, 518 were government vehicles. From July 2013 till July 2014, when the ban on import of cars was imposed, the Road Safety and Transport Authority registered only 576 vehicles in total. These vehicles include those that were ordered before the ban. Of the total number of vehicles in the country, about half of them are concentrated in the Thimphu region. Phinsaling, with more than 26,600 vehicles, stands second. Nirup Gelson for BBS News.
Regulations on Working Conditions 2012 states that a gratuity of a minimum of 1 month's basic pay for every year shall be paid to a retiring employee who has served the employer for at least 10 years. But it seems that this law does not apply to the national workforce. Even after serving for decades, they are not entitled to such a privilege.
Devan Gurung has been working under Department of Roads since early 90s. He is 50 years old and has 2 daughters. He earns 4,950 Newton in a month. Of it, more than half is spent for his daughter's education. He says he is worried about his family's future once he retires.
Almost 15 years have passed serving the Department of Roads, and I request the government to raise our pay. When we retire, if the government could give us some amount as a gratuity, it will benefit us in educating our children. Our salary is not enough to raise our children. Many other employees retired and no one was given gratuity.
However, employers of national workforce such as the Department of Roads say there has been no precedence of gratuity being given to any such retiring employees.
So far we have not implemented this. Now We were aware that as per the Labour Act, that has to be made available to the people if they after serving certain years. But if we have to implement this, the money has to come from the finance ministry, and there should be a order and the money that we should make a payment after serving certain years by the workers.
Thimpo Thomde, another agency employing the national workforce, has not implemented the act either. Officials said when such workers do not want to work for the office, they replace their position with one of their relatives. This practice, Thomde officials said, continues for more than 10 years, which makes it difficult for them to decide the recipient of the gratuity. Thomde added that no one has formally retired as there is no age limit set for them to retire. Some employees continued serving the agency even at the age of 75. However, Thomde has now decided that the national workforce working for them will have to retire from work at the age of 65. They said if the law mandates, then workers will also be given gratuity when they retire. Tamchusam for BBS News.
Orange growers of Norbugang Gyeok under Nganglam Dungkak in Pemagatsel are bracing themselves for a bad news. Almost all the orange trees in the Gyeok are infected with citrus greening even before bearing fruits.
Orange is one of the main cash crops for the people of Norbugang. The crop used to fetch them around 100,000 newton in each season. However, much to their dismay, almost all the orange trees got infected by citrus greening. Farmers fear that the yield will not be as good as previous year.
This year, orange trees are not bearing fruits. We have done everything, but to no avail.
Our orange trees are dying. We are thinking how we will survive.
We are really disheartened. It will be difficult to pay even for our children's education expenses. Orange trees keep on dying and stop bearing fruits. We are very much worried.
The Tsokpa said the only way out is to look for better quality, high-yielding fruit trees instead of depending on oranges. The Gyeok Agriculture Extension Officer said the solution for citrus greening is to uproot the infected trees and burn it. However, orange growers are reluctant to do this as orange is their important cash crop and their only source of income. For Teledoji in Pemagatsel, Dojidema for BBS News.
The National Seeds Center in Bumdang is overflowing with potato seeds due to low price in Finsoling. Though the price of red potato is between 8 to 26 ngitam per kilogram in Finsoling, farmers are not able to get the maximum price. So farmers are selling their seeds at the seed center at a fixed price of 17 ngitam per kilogram.
Every year, the National Seed Center in Bumdang is mandated to buy potato seeds from farmers. Last year, due to high price in Finsoling, not many farmers sold their seeds in Bumdang. But today, it is a different scenario. This year, the center is supposed to buy only 155 metric tons of potato seeds from the farmers. 95 metric tons are already in the center, while the rest will be coming from Ura Gyeok.
We buy potato seeds as per the instruction from the headquarters. I was asked to buy only 155 metric tons of potatoes this year. If I am asked to collect more, I am willing to buy more seeds. We buy potato seeds from the farmers whose potato seeds were already examined even before the cultivation. According to the ministry's instruction, we cannot buy potato seeds from everywhere.
The National Seed Center will keep the seeds at the center for about 5 months before selling it to the farmers across the country. Compiled for Komal Kharka in Bumthang, Tenzin Doji, PBS News.
Well, that is all we have for this time. On behalf of the team, this is Bhutan This saying goodbye and thank you for your time.